2022 is going to be a massive year for games, with Horizon and Elden Ring in February, God of War, Starfield and Hogwarts Legacy later on. Warner wants to release 5 AAA games in those 12 months, which is still kinda crazy. Now, but next to these big releases, we will also have showcases that reveal new titles that we can expect in the future. One game I think we will totally see announced next year is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order 2. I think it's obvious, it surpassed the 20 million players in June of this year. It was the second highest grossing game of the last 12 months in the US, 1 year after it came out. For a linear single player only title, that's crazy. And Respawn is not very secretive about it either. If we go to their career page right now, we see many job openings for the Star Wars team, with one being for a destruction artist, so more destructible environments maybe in the sequel. I just love the first game, but I also think that there are many areas that they can improve upon, like the earnable items we could find in the chest. Give us some really cool cosmetics instead of what we got in the first game. The layout of some levels and the map we used could use some improvements. I also hope it's a next-gen exclusive, because it was running pretty poorly on the older systems. We got a Star Wars celebration on May 26th, 2022, just before E3. That would be the perfect time to reveal the game and then show more gameplay at E3. Something they actually did for the first game too. The big question is though, will it also launch in 2022? I think there's totally a high chance. That would be 3 years after the original. But yeah, with COVID and the state of the world, you never know if they will hit it. Another new game I think we will see is the next title from the Days Gone creators, Sony Band. Days Gone will be 3 years old in April 2022. We of course know that Sony Band has been going through some rough times after its launch, with the 2 most senior leads leaving the studio. We later learned that there was some trouble behind the scenes. Even though Days Gone 1 was profitable, Sony would not fund a sequel. So Sony Band, who also worked on Golden Abyss on Vita, was put on a new Uncharted game instead. But Sony Band wasn't happy about that and were afraid to become a second Naughty Dog, so they asked to get off the Uncharted game, so they are not working on that anymore. And Jason Schreier, who reported the news, says that he doesn't know if that Uncharted game is, by the way, still in development. But what we do know is that Sony Band is working on a new IP that builds on Days Gone's open world systems. In September 2021, they were hiring a lot for this new IP, with first party boss Herman Hulst saying that it's a great new concept. And I would not be surprised if we saw a tease, maybe similar to Wolverine from Insomniac, during a PlayStation showcase in 2022. And as a fan of Days Gone, I'm really curious what it will be. And Sony Band is, by the way, also helping Naughty Dog with their Last of Us multiplayer title, which is, by the way, still the case. So let's look at that title and way more big games that I think will be announced in 2022. Would be awesome if you could leave a like to support the channel. And subscribe, of course, for more of these Sunday videos, where every week we dive into the latest gaming trends and I also make predictions. For example, I think that this Last of Us faction-style multiplayer project will be free to play and that it maybe launches already in 2022. Not much is known about this yet, only that it will be the first standalone multiplayer game by Naughty Dog. Hidden multiplayer assets in The Last of Us Part 2 actually hinted at this being a battle royale. I would be shocked if we did not at least see this project in 2022, just like the other smaller project Naughty Dog is working on, The Last of Us Remake. Sony is now launching the Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection around the launch of the Uncharted movie, and that seems to be the plan for this remake of the PS3 game as well, that they bundle it maybe with a director's cut for The Last of Us Part 2, and then release it for people who want to play the game after seeing the Last of Us HBO show, which should launch sometime in 2022. I got more Sony predictions, some Microsoft predictions actually as well, but let's first look at some third-party titles. We know that some sequels are coming, like a new Bioshock or Splinter Cell was recently announced, even though we have not seen anything concrete from these titles. So while I do think we might finally see footage in 2022, doesn't really count as a new reveal. Although, speaking of Ubisoft, they will totally reveal something new in 2022, even though we know most of their upcoming release slate already. Skull and Bones, Avatar, Mario plus Rabbids, and the Prince of Persia remake are the big titles for their next financial year, next to the free-to-play games like the new Division. I think they will add a new Far Cry New Dawn or Primal type game to that, which seems like a safe bet looking at the shorter post-launch schedule for Far Cry 6, and just how Ubisoft has always released a smaller Far Cry title with the same map directly after their mainline games. In Far Cry 6 we find a lot of QR codes throughout the whole game with like a very short teaser. If you do decide to scan it, maybe we see what that is all about. And will 2022 really be the first year ever that we go 2 years without a mainline Assassin's Creed game? I think it's possible, but that doesn't mean that we do not get a lot of Assassin's Creed related stuff. The main focus will totally be on Valhalla, with maybe a second mythical expansion later on in the year, but it will be the 15th year anniversary of the franchise in November. Would be a perfect time for that potential AC1 remake maybe. A free-to-play Assassin's Creed seems very likely as well, looking at all the other free-to-play spin-offs Ubisoft is pumping out for their other franchises. And we know that they got a AAA mobile game in the works. So I'm curious what the future brings, but I don't think we will see a mainline new game in 2022. Last year's video had a new Saints Row game, a new Battlefield game, but also Dragon's Dogma 2. Did not happen in 2021, but I do think we will finally see it in 2022. Just like the Resident Evil 4 remake, which seems like a solid bet and could be planned for around Halloween if it doesn't get pushed. That was at least the leaked GeForce Now leak release date. And maybe it's finally time for a new Street Fighter. And this one is interesting. Tomb Raider had its 25th anniversary in January 2021, where we actually learned that the next Tomb Raider game will unify the original and the reboot timelines. So while they did not have plans for a major game announcement in the near future, which was again in January 2021, maybe 2022 is the time for a teaser, as they seem to be working on it for quite some time already. In September, they were looking for someone with a portfolio similar to the latest Tomb Raider reboot and the Rise of the Tomb Raider. Okay. And when it was announced that they would be helping the initiative with Perfect Dark next to their work on Marvel's Avengers, they also mentioned Tomb Raider as something they were working on. So I think a new game is coming. It will likely be a while, but maybe a tease in 2022 is in the cards. 2022 already looks pretty big for Bethesda, so Microsoft as well with Redfall and Starfield, but there might be another game that they will announce and maybe release in 2022 as well. Because Wolfenstein Youngblood was the last big game from Machine Games, which was already a smaller title in its own right based on Wolfenstein 2 from 2017. We of course know that they are working on Indiana Jones, which still seems very early, and this teaser was likely more to lure new talent to the studio, so hard to believe that that will be the studio's next big title, which still seems at least 3 years away. In the GeForce Now leak, which I touched on in many Sunday videos, seem to be right many times, we actually see 2 games from Machine Games, Relic, for a December 6th, 2022 launch, and Platinum, which actually refer to as Indiana Jones as well, for January 1st, 2024. So a potential release in 2024. So is Relic maybe Wolfenstein 3? Not sure, but at least something Machine Games seems to be happening in 2022. It was smart of Microsoft to already reveal a lot of big projects that they got coming in the future, to show that we will get way more exclusives than during the Xbox One generation. But this does mean that we know most of their big titles already. There are still some like relatively smaller studios that could reveal their game, like In Exile behind Wasteland 3, or Compulsion Games from We Happy Few might be ready to reveal their next game. The coalition behind Gears of War, rumors suggest that they are doing a smaller project first before the potential next Gears. But yeah, I overall think that Microsoft will mostly focus on the games they already revealed, like Fable, Perfect Dark and Avowed, instead of announcing a ton of big new games. And I already mentioned it, but PlayStation VR 2 seems to be planned for the end of 2022 as well. Of course, you never know with the current state of the world if that's actually gonna happen. Like, it's still hard to find a PS5. Did not stop Nintendo though from launching the OLED Switch. And if the new hardware gets announced and released in 2022, then launch games will of course be there as well. I think a new Astrobot makes a lot of sense. I really hope that we see a new game from the London studio behind Blood and Truth. Still need to play that game, so I hope they like update it or like remaster it for PSVR 2. That would be great. And there are rumors about a Horizon VR game actually in development by Fire Sprite Studios, a developer that Sony bought in 2021. And like that would totally get me to buy a PSVR 2 because the first one really lacked some big games from a big Sony IP. But if there's one game that I want to see in 2022, it's that other project from Guerrilla Games. They actually started working on it in early 2018. So yeah, that will be 4 years in 2022. I still think it will be like a Ghost of Tsushima Legends type announcement. So Forbidden West is out, then they will finally reveal what this next game is. And I still hope and I think that it will be that co-op Monster Hunter style game, but in the Horizon universe. They talked about having a co-op mode for forever, so having that as its separate game, kind of like what Ghost of Tsushima Legends in a way was and what it will likely evolve into with Ghost of Tsushima 2. I think that's the future for the Sony IP, to have like a multiplayer component as well that is completely separate from the single player experience. And yeah, it just makes sense that Horizon is like doing that as well. They also had a QA project team lead who needed to have experience with live service games. So I think that will happen. And overall, 2022 will be insane. First of all, I want to thank you for your support in 2021. Yeah, I'm rocking the Christmas sweater, and that's why the Sunday video is dropping on a Monday, because of course there was Christmas. I hope you had a great Christmas, and I hope you'll have a great new year as well. Again, there will be a ton of cool stuff in 2022. We will be covering Dawn of Ragnarok, of course, Wonderlands, Horizon, God of War, Hogwarts Legacy, like all those big games, while 2021 only really had Far Cry as like a big game to cover, Outriders. So 2022 should be even bigger. I'm really excited, and yeah, hope you will be along for the ride. Of course, we will have more of these Sunday videos throughout the year as well. Thanks for your support. It's always great to talk about gaming trends in between focusing on particular games. So it's really great to see you like that as well. And yeah, like the video, subscribe, and I will see you soon. Goodbye.